Welcome to the Magical Salon, where two regular people, Amanda and James, explore mystical ideas and big questions. From books to pop culture, if it's a doorway to something deeper, we're probably into it. We're not experts, and maybe you aren't either, but that's kind of the point. Welcome back to a special spooky episode of the Magical Salon. I'm your witch, Amanda, and I'm joined by...
your warlock, James.
Our Halloween special is all about ghosts. What are they? Does believing in them imply a belief in a certain kind of life after death? Have we personally ever seen a ghost? Keep listening to find out the answers to all these questions and more. So what is a ghost? I think that's a good place to start. So typically conceived as an apparition that was once a living person. They are stuck here because they have unfinished business or are afraid to move on. Whereas a spirit, on the other hand, is kind of a more expansive category, which refers to either the intangible part of a living person, as well as any non-material entity, including demons, angels, etc. So let's start with this. Do you believe in ghosts? And if so, do you feel it counteracts with your other spiritual beliefs?
I would say that, yes, I believe in them. I don't really think it counteracts, because if you think about all of the things we discuss, it's the invisible is still real. Just because you can't see something doesn't make it any less real. Maybe we can't prove it today with video footage or whatever, but that still doesn't mean it's not real. I don't really think it's contradictory in any way. What do you think? Do you believe in ghosts? I haven't really seen one.
I do believe in ghosts, in part because I have seen one, but I think that I would believe in them anyways, even if I had not seen one. I guess kind of for the same reasons as you. It's like, who am I to determine that that cannot exist? I don't know, I guess I'm more so my question was thinking along the lines of like, because I think in like a Catholic way, if you were to believe in ghosts, that would also imply that you believed in angels and demons and stuff. But I don't know that I think those things are, like, mutually exclusive.
It seems like they are kind of talking about similar things, though. If a ghost is some non-material apparition or something, and an angel is typically presented as that too, or that's how people describe it.
It almost seems like, now that you just said that, it almost seems like the way you would identify the spirit would be in the type of action it's providing, right? So if it's helping, you'd be more likely to think that's an angel. And if it was doing something harmful, you'd be more likely to think vengeful spirit demon sort of thing. But again, are those not just labels? Like, does that actually determine anything of substance about those spirits? That's an interesting question, just because I think there's so much sort of like fear of the unknown when it comes to things of this nature.
Well, I will just say, it's really just categorization. So regardless, the idea of angels and demons or ghosts, even if they're the same thing, it's just a different word. There's an agreement, or people are at least talking about a similar phenomenon. I found a Gallup poll, which is just some like polling thing, but it said that 39% of Americans believe in ghosts. And that was from earlier this year, 2025.
Does that surprise you?
Not really. There was a different thing that had polls on aliens and stuff. Like, people believe in a lot of stuff, whether or not you can talk about it in the mainstream. Like, I'm not going to be telling people I believe in ghosts at work, probably, but they might also agree with it. It's just not necessarily the setting to discuss it.
Well, it's not the setting, but I also think, the other element is that, so a belief in ghosts in some way and aliens kind of sits a little bit counter to our highly intellectualized scientific way of seeing the world, which we've talked about a lot on the podcast. But why I'm bringing it up now is because people generally are reluctant to mention things like that in work settings because they don't feel like it's appropriate, and that they think that they will be perceived differently because of a belief in a certain type of thing. But I think if and when you are able to broach some of these subjects, like, I'm kind of thinking about the conversation that I had with a colleague on a work trip. And we were actually talking about ghosts because she thought she saw one in the bathroom. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you can broach sort of that barrier of fear, I think you'd be surprised how much people might if not a direct belief, they might be like, oh, well, this weird thing happened to me. And since you're talking about that, I'll mention this to you.
You said you've seen a ghost. So what about that? What kind of ghost? Was it in a haunted house? Was it trying to attack you? Were you frightened?
No, it was in my house I grew up in. And it was the middle of the night. And I had left my bedroom to go to the bathroom. And there was like this long hallway. And at the end of the hallway, there was a giant mirror over like the bathroom sinks. And so like I went to the bathroom and I was washing my hands. And I look up into the mirror, and behind me in the hallway, there's like this glowing white figure just standing there, like looking at me sort of, but they didn't have eyes, but they were just like, it was more like an outline, if anything, but I wasn't afraid. And then when I turned around, it was gone. And I can't remember, I feel like I talked about it with my mom, and she was like, oh, maybe they were like watching over you and wondering like where you had gone.
Interesting. So how old were you when this happened?
I'm gonna guess 10 or 12, because I was obsessed with ghosts, and I can't remember if this happened before or after my obsession. I was obsessed with ghosts and aliens, and I compiled extensive notes about them, and those were like my two sort of passion projects at that time.
Passion projects as a 10-year-old?
That's also when I got my weird message from the government about my aliens.
So you've seen one firsthand. It wasn't a bad experience. And you discussed it with your mom, and she thought it could have been... See, that's, again, it's a matter of interpretation. You could say it's a freaky entity in the mirror, or, oh, it's my ancestors looking over me.
And going back to perception, though, I don't know, I think you can kind of get a vibe from things. Like, if it had meant me harm, I think I would have been able to feel that, and I would have been afraid, you know what I mean?
I don't think I can think of a specific instance where I like saw a ghost or anything. So yeah, I don't have anything nearly as good as that.
Riffing on ghost stories, what do you think the purpose of a ghost story is? Why do people like to be afraid?
Well, I would just say I think that's very loaded, because that's very Western. I mean, I don't even know if that's Western, but the idea of ghosts being evil or malicious, I don't really necessarily agree with that. I don't really think they have to be one thing or the other. And in fact, as part of my research, in the East, the idea of a ghost is more so a soul. Like, I always thought of it as like a ghost is a person that has died, but for whatever reason, their presence is kind of lingering in this realm still. So their corporeal being is gone. They don't have a 3D body anymore, but their spirit is still kind of moving in and out of this realm and the next. So if you want to think of it from like a 4-dimensional perspective, their soul has kind of elevated to the next level, but a ghost is kind of somebody that's stuck in between, which I guess you could call as like purgatory. And in the East, I think the idea is more so that it's a soul that's still burdened by attachment. So its body is gone, but the consciousness is still like coming back for something, whether that be they were wronged or killed unjustly or something. Like, think of hauntings, right? Like, oh, this orphanage burned down, and
you can still hear the screams of the children at night.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's like a way that you hear it in pop culture and movies. That's kind of how ghosts are portrayed. But think of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Frequently, they were dealing with ghosts in the spirit realm, and most of the time, it involved assisting a past spirit or soul kind of move on and get over whatever's kind of holding them back. Like, oh, they were afraid that their kids weren't going to be okay, so their spirit kept coming back to make sure they were okay. I think there's more to ghost stories than just spooky thing is haunting you and it's demonic.
I agree with all that, but I think the idea of a ghost story is specifically a scary story of a ghost that is meant to scare you. I think that's the nature of a ghost story. It's supposed to unsettle you, but I do agree with you in that in the West, ghosts are always like, I think it comes back to a control thing. Like, ghosts are always just like something terrifying, unknown, and unpredictable that you must get rid of, right? You cannot coexist, and you cannot help them go beyond. In addition to the East, though, I think just there are other cultures and spiritualities that have a different interpretation of the dead. Like even think of Dia de los Muertos, which is like celebrating, right? It's an honoring. And there are other like spiritualities and belief systems where it's more so like if there's a spirit or a sign of something, is it not an ancestor that might be there to help you or to relay a message? Like, it doesn't have to be someone or something that's out to get you. And why do you think in such adversarial terms?
That's kind of making me think more, this might be more conspiracy theorist, but if you're looking at ghost stories from a control perspective, if I am a church, it's kind of like you can pray to my God, but not your God. So ghosts, it's like, oh, you believe in ghosts or you believe in your ancestors assisting you. And that's a way for you to internally self-motivate or find additional drive or will to overcome obstacles by relying on this ghost or presence or your guardian angel or your ancestors or whatever. It's like, well, you can't use that. Like, that's not allowed. I don't want you using something that's personal to you. Like, you must use a state-sanctioned, institutionally allowed deity as your form of higher power.
Yeah, I think that ultimately comes down to the West devalues community, I think, because it sees it as something that could grow to, again, fill an adversarial role against them, the state. So do you know any good ghost stories?
Not really, other than the Bloody Mary thing, which I'm not sure if that's even a ghost story or if that's just some spooky kids game where you like talk in a mirror and the lights are out.
So you played it?
I don't know if I did. It kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. But again, that just gives me I do believe, and I think more people would believe in it than they would admit. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, that stuff's BS or bunk. But then it's like, well, so you're going to go do this Bloody Mary thing in the dark in the mirror? And it's like, well, I'm not going to do it. Like, why would I take the risk, right? So then it's like, well, you kind of have some degree of, if you're hesitating, then you believe a little bit then, don't you?
Yes, I agree. Are you not just superstitious in your own way by refusing to engage with it? I think Ouija boards are the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that stuff's not real. And it's like, well, I'm not going to mess with it though, because what if it is?
I won't tell the story because I don't even remember it, but it was a version of the Bloody Mary story that's this girl told me at camp when I was like, I don't know, it's probably around the same age. Like 10 to 12. It was like how she could travel through mirrors and get you and stuff. And yeah, it was just so terrifying. I was so afraid. I don't even know why I was so afraid. And to this day, I still don't like mirrors. I think they are freaky.
This isn't really, I guess it's a story, but when I was doing my confirmation, at one point we went to this special like church retreat or something. And it was one night, so it's not like it was this intensive thing. But apparently the place we were sleeping, I think it was like some old church or something, supposed to be haunted, allegedly. And people were talking about it. I never saw a ghost or anything, and I don't think anybody really claimed to have seen one or heard anything either. But it was more just the idea, the idea being introduced to me of like, oh, there could be ghosts here. This could be haunted. Made me slightly more alert at the very least. You're maybe glancing at a mirror an extra second because it's like, did I see something, or am I hallucinating, or was there something there? I don't know.
Because your brain is primed to see something. Because that happened to me as well when I went on a separate work trip, and the hotel that we were staying in was rumored to be haunted, and my room had like this really weird sort of balcony in it, but it was all interior and you couldn't get up there. It was just like a shelf sort of, but it was as big as a balcony. And then there was like this little hole next to the window, and it was really dark back there and really long. It was a really creepy room, I guess is what I'm saying. And I kind of like, maybe that's why I couldn't sleep one of those nights.
Well, that's interesting because on a different work trip that I went on into New Orleans, apparently that was the hotel was also supposed to be haunted, which I did not even know until after we came back from the trip. And then I was talking to somebody that was like kind of one of the people that helped organize it all and like get the bookings. And apparently 1 or 2 people did not stay in that hotel on the trip because they knew it was supposed to be haunted and they were like, I'm not staying there. So they stayed at a different place, like down the street. So again, people do believe, and maybe they kind of hide it. But I guess the other question then I would say is, you've acknowledged that you were obsessed with ghosts and aliens. Do you think that discredits you then? Because most people would say, well, obviously you believe in it, so you're primed to, instead of saying that was just a reflection of a nightlight that you saw, you are saying it's a ghost. But I would be able to scientifically disprove that and say that wasn't a ghost you saw when you were 10 in your mirror. That was the light refracting off of the... Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, but what I would say is that you just can't explain everything that you experience. People can't explain consciousness, where that comes from, how that works. That doesn't mean it's not there and it's not real. So I just think there's like a lack in what we can measure, and I don't think we should even be trying to measure like something like this, but I'm just saying. I also think the fact that you can research these two subjects, ghosts and aliens, at all means that not only do a lot of other people believe this and have had a history of believing it, but there's enough stuff out there that you can actually do a somewhat rigorous intellectual study on it at 10. What are your thoughts on the idea of summoning a ghost or a spirit? Can this ever be done ethically? Seems like exploitation to me.
I think exploitation's crazy, but...
Well, just think of like the idea of a genie in a bottle. Like, it's enslaved in there and it must do your bidding.
Is that the mythology of it? They're not enslaved, are they?
They have to grant your every wish. Think about what that actually means.
But that's never how it works out in reality. A genie in a bottle, it always backfires. Like, they never get their wishes. It's never, I want $1 million. I want X and Y. It's like, okay, you asked for something, you got it, but there was also this other thing that you were not considering that bit you in the ass.
I don't see how that's any different than if I summon a demon to do my bidding. Like, I'm exploiting it. It has no choice but to do what I'm making it do. Like, that's not right.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say I don't think it's a good idea, obviously, to be doing any of those things. And I think you're just dealing with things you don't understand. Again, if you think of it as the fourth dimension, let's say these ghosts and things are 4D beings. They're in a higher plane than us, so they can come in and out. Maybe you can summon it to this plane for a period of time, but it does not operate on the same rules or anything that we do. So that's not a good idea to be messing with that stuff, which again, it's kind of just when you hear all these people like playing God and science and stuff like, oh, I bioengineered this magic chemical and it lasts forever and has no problems. And then it's like 100 years later, it's like, oh, microplastics? Yeah, they're in everything and everybody's doomed because of it. It's like, we don't know things. You should not be messing with it. I think that's really where I kind of land on it. Could you also, though, this is a question to you that I'm kind of playing my own devil's advocate. What is praying to God or like saints then? Is that not summoning, but aren't you in some cases like, oh, help me get a good grade on this test or make sure my kid is safe in this surgery or something? Like, isn't that form of summoning? Or
Yeah, it's an interesting question because you are asking something beyond you to help you. So I do think that's a form of magic. I don't think it's summoning, and you're more asking for help rather than demanding and requiring help. See, that's the key difference. And I think that's always been my main critique of like Western magicians. It's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And why do you feel the need to control everything, including not just people's corporeal frames, but like beyond into the spirit world? Like, that's just really, that's not the way.
Yeah, I would agree. Because again, if it is, I like the 4D example, so I'll keep it. But if it's a 4D thing, why are you bothering it? Like, I don't know. You kind of just leave it be. I don't know. And again, in most of those movies and stuff, when they do summon demons or anything, it never ends well. So the argument, again, maybe that could be, well, they're going to portray it badly because they don't want you to realize you could do this. Attaining extra help, I guess. 4D chess or whatever.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what the Western magicians would say.
I mean, I think Crowley did talk about like invoking gods or becoming a god by, and yeah, like summoning and stuff. And I just...
Do you believe people can be possessed?
Well, that's a great question. So ghost stories then? What do you think of ghost stories in relation to like demon movies or possession movies?
I think it's doing a lot of the same things, and people seek it out for some of the same reasons. Because I was thinking about ghost stories, like in some ways, since it's a story, it's like a constructed way to kind of feel the emotions, but in a safe, controlled environment. And then at the end, oh, okay. Like, it's safely there in that story, so I don't actually have to think about it in my day-to-day reality. So it's a controlled way to take, I think, just a lot of the fears that people have about the space, experience it, and then sort of leave it at the door.
I mean, the possession thing, though, is freaky because the idea of that is like, yeah, there's this invisible entity that can just take over somebody that you love or yourself, and you would have no control over it. That's pretty terrifying.
It seems like you don't really hear about people getting possessed in this day and age, though. And I don't know why that is. Is it because the church... I don't think the church really believes in it anymore, except for, like, maybe at the Vatican. But, like, you know, back in the day, if you were possessed, you could, like, go down the street to the Catholic Church and be like, please help me. But I don't know that you could do that now.
Medicine and science have kind of gotten rid of possession because now any person acting crazy is mentally ill or suffering from something instead of being possessed. So back in the day, like a night terror is like a medical condition now. Like it's not nightmares, but you literally are asleep yelling out in the night like bloody murder. I would be like, yeah, my kid's possessed. Every night they're like screaming and they're waking up and they don't know what's happening and whatever, like something's possessing them. Now they'd be like, oh, just give them whatever, melatonin and knock them out and problem solved, right? To counter the idea of possession not being discussed a lot, think of like the the 2010s even, not that long ago, all of the Paranormal Activity movies. Those were huge movies when I was in like middle school maybe. And it was all about being possessed or like witches or like their house is haunted or the kid's possessed or somebody in the family is possessed by a demon. That was like a very popular horror genre at one point, possession movies. I feel like they aren't as popular now, but even The Exorcist was big in the 70s.
Those are the best because they're the scariest.
I think they are. They're scarier than a slasher movie to me because it's a non-material thing. Like, you can't fight it.
It's so beyond you that it's absolutely terrifying, right? Because you can't ever beat it, to your point. It's like trying to fight a 40 being.
Well, they kind of are. Because basically it's, if you think of it, the demon is possessing somebody. So you have like a 3D body being taken over by a bad 4D demon, right? Then you have the priest, who's another 3D body, invoking God, a different positive 4D being, to cast out the demon.
Everyone's playing their roles almost. It just seems to me that Latin would carry the greatest weight in those types of situations, like because you're combating an evil. Like if that's how they see it, right? And I think that's kind of one of the main principles of magic and why they use all like the names of God and stuff like that, is because these have meaning, so you can draw into that. But now like nobody speaks Latin like these priests.
That was the big thing. The church got rid of Latin. They used to do mass in Latin until pretty recently. They had Latin mass for 2,000 years and then they were like,
nah, forget it.
It's too hard to do it. But it's like, well, if that's actually the magic language or the original language, there's an additional power there.
No, I definitely agree. And I think that considering how many hours I spent in religious school, they could have taught me some
I
Latin.
feel like they might have tried to for me. But that's interesting because when I was talking to my mom, like doing some genealogy stuff, her parents took Latin, both of them. Like my grandma and grandpa, that was offered. I think they did go to Catholic school, but either way, they were learning Latin in high school. that's not an option now. Like, I had 3 options. I think.
It is if you go to a rich school.
Okay, well, I went to public school.
As did
Not that I didn't go to a nice school, but
I'm just saying no public school teaches Latin.
yeah, it's certainly not. That's interesting. So anyways, no more aside on Latin.
Latin's dead.
It is dead.
It seems that ghosts are those who cannot return to Brahman, or they refuse to. And Brahman is a reference to like the Hindu way of seeing things, which is like Brahman is like the all, basically, the one true thing beyond duality.
I think that's an interesting topic because there's 2 ideas in Buddhism related to reincarnation. I would counter what you said about them not being able to return to Brahman. And there's 2 words, so arahat and bodhisattva. So an arhat is somebody who does the work, so to speak. You become enlightened. You can reach nirvana. And you do. Like, you're like, I'm going. I found my ticket to paradise. See ya. I'm going to heaven. I'm out of here. I'm done with the suffering of this 3D world. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to continually reincarnate. Contrasting with the bodhisattva is somebody who continuously returns. Like, they continue to reincarnate, but they are choosing to reincarnate. They have attained nirvana. They could leave, go to paradise or heaven, but instead they choose to continually reincarnate to help relieve the suffering of others. So it's kind of more noble in some ways.
So why do you think those people do that? Because if you think about it on the face of it, they and the first type, the arhat, are both equally as enlightened. So why, once you reach a certain level of enlightenment, why would you act differently? It seems like the bodhisattva, are they not like a level beyond the arhat?
You're saying they're more enlightened. You're trying to scale the enlightenment.
I'm just asking how, like, it almost seems like a contradiction or a paradox or something.
Maybe it is a paradox, but I think the idea really is they've transcended ego, and you can decide to do whatever you want or whatever, and your spirit is pure. But just because it's a pure spirit, I don't know, it doesn't mean you have to suffer.
It's kind of interesting to think about because, like, would they start out, like, would they begin super enlightened? Or would they have to become enlightened in each lifetime? Because that's a crazy risk to take. Because what if you never reach enlightenment ever again?
In my mind, a bodhisattva does sound more pure or holy or better. I don't know what the term you want to use. Like, I'm not trying to rank them, right? They're both
At the number 1 spot!
When we were talking earlier about ghosts, we kind of talked around death a lot because I think that kind of is related to ghosts. One of the reasons I think I so adamantly believe, I guess, in ghosts is because I truly don't think when you die that's like it. Not in the sense of you go to heaven or something, but I just think like the presence, like your human spirit and aura or whatever will like continue, even if it's living. The presence is in the people you touched, so to speak, in your life with your actions or like your memories. Like, you might be gone, but your friends or family might still think of you every day.
Like, I used to sort of wonder if there was just like nothing after death. Like, there's just the void, and that was obviously a terrifying thought to me. And I still, like anyone, have a fear of death, but I think that is partly my ego because I do believe that we have like a divine energy inside of us, and that when we die, we return to the all, which is everything. So you're not, I mean, it's sad in an ego way because your actual individual life would be done, and like, but what makes you you, I think, would never really die.
Yeah, it's kind of like, isn't that like the thermodynamics or something? Like, you can't destroy energy or something. So it's like, yeah, like it just changes shape or transforms into something else, but it's not really destroyed. So yeah, like the body's not there, but the energy went somewhere. So that's if you think of a ghost, then yeah, like okay, there's like a lot of consolidated presence in this area. Like even when you think of like tragedies or like 9/11 or even cemeteries, like there's certain spots where it's like there's a somber presence or there's a heaviness.
Yes, and it kind of reminds me of residual hauntings. There's their energy imprints. For example, a ghost on loop walking down a hallway at the same time every day. Is it a glitch in time? Is it a ghost at all since it's not conscious? Because it's just part of energy. So I don't know like how you conceive of that and the idea of like Brahman or the all or whatever, because wouldn't all of that be sucked up? Or is it possible that like when such a bad thing happens, bad energy is like produced and left behind, and that's not anybody, you know what I mean, for lack of a better way of explaining it.
If there's an imprint or like a thing being like relived, so to speak, or reenacted, it's like they're kind of stuck. So they've kind of partially transcended or like left this realm, but they're kind of in between. So then if you think of like the Avatar show again, where it's like we have to help them get by, or even when we were talking about ritual and like there's rituals to help the dead pass on, I kind of think you could look at it like that to an extent. Do you think Jesus is a ghost story? Because on the third day he rose again, right? So he died and then they saw him again. So did he literally like just his body woke up so he's like a zombie? That's probably maybe bad to say, but
Again, I think that ghost stories are a specific genre of story, and that doesn't fit that genre. There are plenty of stories that have spirit or supernatural elements in it, and I would equate it to that, and I would describe it as such. I mean, I don't really remember if he, like, how exactly he rose again. Like, if it was his body or if he was a spirit. I think he was just made whole again, right? Like, I think he just, like, got up as if nothing had happened. So I guess, yeah, he was more like a zombie, but he looked fine.
Yeah, we might need to cut that. That's probably heretical.
Pope Leo would not prosecute us, though, because he and you have a kinship because you're from the same place.
So here's the weekly wisdom, though. The quote is from Saint John Chrysostom. He's from like the 1300s, I believe, or maybe 300.
He's really old. That's the point.
His quote was, "They whom we love and lose are no longer where they were before. They are now wherever we are." And I think that's cool, kind of the idea of ancestors, guardian angels. That's kind of where my idea of ghosts being in your memory, like they're with you, right? They are now wherever we are. Like your memory of them, they're with all of the people that are thinking about them.
Do you have any further thoughts?
No, that was the weekly wisdom.
I liked it.
I liked it too. So maybe look for some ghosts in your life.
Rate the podcast. I don't think we've ever said that before. Give us 5 stars. Bye. Happy Halloween.